Hello, everyone. Welcome to this podcast episode. We are so excited to bring you the topic that we're talking about today, and we have just been so fired up about this. And there's a lot of pieces that have recently come forward for us to really discover this deeper aspect of the power of 13. And so we're going to dive into some of the misconceptions of the number 13 and the frequency about the number 13 and the power of 13 as it truly is the original blueprint of the human. And we're going to get into exactly what we mean by all of that. So I'm excited to just go ahead and dive in. So we're going to start off with talking about the misconceptions of 13. Now, when you think about 13, I know, back at one time it was like Friday the 13th, right? It's an unlucky day. It's an unlucky number. And this is very much, calculated in a way for us to actually think that 13 is a negative number, or to look at it as something that's taboo. So we want to stay away from it and not actually have a curiosity and the pull towards the frequency that 13 actually has within it. Now, if you think of, even going into a hotel, they've actually just stripped the 13th floor from hotels or any sort of buildings. And so there are, right, when we say they, it's like whoever they are has gone to great lengths to actually strip 13 from our deeper understanding of what it truly is and what it really means to us. And so, Ava, I don't know if you want to dive in a little deeper to any of these aspects of the misconceptions of 13.
Oh man, I mean, I'm over here sweating because Shiloh and I literally have been talking prior to hitting record here for almost an hour, having our minds blown around some of the pieces that have been coming through. We're both, Shiloh and I, are channels in our own unique way. And we've been getting some really important information and pieces that have been coming through around just how important this cracking of this code is. And we really do believe that we've really kind of unlocked some big pieces here. Then we cannot wait to share them with you. And I feel like if I go into any more of these misconceptions, it's like, I'm just going to spill the whole beans and just, get the podcast going hot from the beginning. So let's just ease our way in here a little bit and maybe just talk about just even some of the ways that humanity was encoded in 13, right? Like talking about how it is actually inherently part of our DNA, inherently part of our higher self, inherently part of every aspect of who we are as human beings, right? And Shiloh, do you want to speak into some of those like fairly obvious ones when you stop and look at it, right? There are some that you can be like, oh yeah, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we actually have 13 moon cycles, right? Which is interesting because we have 12 months out of the year, and we're actually in a system of 13, trying to fit into a box of a system of 12. And it actually just doesn't work in the rhythm and the flow of it, right? It may seem like it's working because it's what we've been doing, but we're actually out of rhythm with nature because nature moves in cycles of 13, right? We have the 13 moon cycles. Women have 13 cycles in a year. We have 13 strands of DNA, which the 13th is always left out. And again, it feels like there's some sort of missing link to it all. And that's something that we're going to speak into today. And this 13th strand of DNA, right? It's known that we have these 12 strands of DNA. Only 2 of them are actually plugged in thus far. There's actually a belief that a third one has been plugging in for many people, and they're actually doing a lot of scientific work to discover this and to study this and understand what's actually happening here. Scientists will call the extra strands of DNA junk DNA because they don't know what it does. And the best way that I can kind of explain it in layman's terms is, if we have kind of these 13 strands that are symbolizing, say, lamps that are all kind of facing a wall, and each one of the lamps has its own socket, and two of them are plugged in, so the lights are on, but the remaining, all of the cords are just kind of laying on the floor. They're not plugged in. So from the outside looking in, right, you would think, oh, these lamps are broken or they don't work, or there's no purpose for them. But all of the hardware is there. It's just they're not plugged in. And so that's also this evolution of human consciousness that we're going through. It's an activation of our DNA, which, maybe this is a whole other topic, so I'm not going to get too off topic, but I also believe that, as there's a war on consciousness, there's also, this deeper aspect of kind of stripping that DNA, or, keeping that DNA unplugged, like DNA manipulation, right? And we've seen this in, many different aspects through, the technology that's coming online, and microchips and different vaccines and these different things. And again, that's a whole other topic that maybe we'll save for another day. But my point to that is DNA is a really important piece of the puzzle of this awakening journey. And we have the 12 strands, and the 13th strand that is wanting to come online, or as we go through this evolutionary process that will come online, is actually the light coming down the main central channel, right? Our Sushumna. So the chakras within, being these individual pillars right now, actually coming online to be one solid pillar of light. We can look into nature, right? We can look at the backs of turtle shells, and they have this 13 sequence on them that it's said that ancient civilizations actually used as calendars. And these different aspects of where it's within all things. It's actually in the Fibonacci spiral, right? The Fibonacci spiral is the mathematical equation in the sacred geometric formation that actually makes up all life, right? 13 is actually, 13 is within that spiral, right? And so 13 is the eighth number in, and then the 13th number in is 144, right? And there's all these prophecies of 144,000 light workers, right, really coming online. And, something that Ava and I have really been diving deeper into is this 1% of humanity, right? It's only actually going to take 1% of humanity to awaken to their true nature, to activate these deeper aspects of themselves. We truly believe that coming back in a right rhythm with the cyclical nature of 13 is going to be the catalyst for that coherent field within us to really come online.
Yeah, absolutely. And as some of you are hearing some of these pieces, like I'm just hearing like, oh, there's 13 of what, and there's 13 of what. Like, you're going to hear that because we've been told throughout history that there's 12, right? There's 12 constellations. There's 12 months in the year. There's 12 this, there's 12 that, and so it's really the ways that 12 has been superimposed on the frequency of 13, and on top of the natural rhythm of creation, which includes our form, even to say that, there's these two strands of DNA and there's really 12, but there's definitely not 13, right? Taking out the core central strand, which is your direct connection to source, right? Your direct connection to the universe, to God, however you phrase that, that is the importance of that Sushumna. That is the importance of that 13th code. It is your direct line to God. And so this is really, really important stuff. So when we dive in here, you're going to start to make all of these connections, and all these things are going to start firing because of just how it's just going to become so obvious throughout this conversation that you're just going to be like, wow, like this is so important for humanity. And this is really what's getting awakened on the planet right now, is this frequency of 13 coming back into our natural form and natural ways of our natural rhythm of creation. Right. And so it's just amazing when you start to look at some of these pieces, even coming of age, right? Like if in the Jewish tradition, the bar and bat mitzvahs happen at 13. If you think about the timing of the human coming into age, going from child to young adult, like that there is something that's transforming in the physical body of the humans at that stage of creation, at that stage of their life. For everyone on the planet, there's something that's happening around the frequency of 13. The women, like young girls, are getting their moon cycles around that age, right? Like there's genuinely a shift that's happening where now these young girls are now life givers. They're coming into the season of 13. They're now life givers, right? There's something that, and same thing with the boys, like there's this maturation process that's happening that is shifting frequency into life giver, right? And so that's another piece where it's just like all of these ways that it comes into these places, right? And it's unbelievable. And Shiloh, where does our higher self reside?
At our 13th chakra, right? And so maybe you've heard of the 7 chakras right within the body, but we actually have chakras outside of our physical form as well. And that allows us to go up and connect into these higher dimensional fields where our higher self actually resides, is the 13th dimensional field. It's at the 13th chakra system. And it's how you connect with your higher self, is through that dimensional field. Now, I've read so many texts saying that there's only 12 dimensions, right? And then it actually stops at the 12th. And, it's our deeper belief that the 13th is actually where higher self resides. And higher self is the direct connection to source, right? Your higher self is actually the final kind of step of your individual soul experience before you just merge back in with source energy once again, right? And you'll get to know DiYeena, and we'll talk a little bit about her as we move forward as well. But I know DiYeena shares a lot of it's actually infinite, right? And so it's actually infinite that we can be tapping into. Yet, when we talk about the original blueprint of the human being 13, we're being asked to focus on that because that's what's coming alive. That's this evolutionary period that we're going through. And so it's, the dimensional fields actually even go beyond 13, but we're being asked to really come back into the original blueprint, which is the 13 strands of DNA. It's connecting with higher self, embodying higher self at the 13th dimensional field, while also being very much grounded and embodied here. It's not about going and kind of just leaving the body and hanging out at the 13th field. It's what can you receive? Can you allow yourself to be so directly connected in that you're receiving clarity, you're clear and you're grounded in your body, and to having this sense of direct connection to source itself, right? To God, source, universe, whatever word that you connect into. And talking and swinging back around to the taboo nature of it, when we can even think of another place that it's been stripped. And this is the aspect that Ava and I are going to dive into, that we really just unlocked a lot of pieces around. And that is of Mary Magdalene actually being the 13th disciple. Now that's something that I've heard actually quite a few times, so that information really isn't new to us. But that was actually stripped from religion. And we believe that maybe we have a deeper understanding of why that may be. And so, of course, take what resonates, let the rest go. But we really want this to be a discussion to maybe like crack some pieces open for deeper self-discovery of well, what is your own truth within it, right? This is our truth within it. This is what we're discovering. And what is this? How does this feel in your being? Is this bringing anything up for you? And that she was a 13th disciple, but that was actually taken out. And there's a specific reason why she was taken out of that. And I'm actually going to bring that over to Ava to share that with you as well.
Oh man, this is such a juicy story, and I feel so honored to share it all with you. So my husband and I recently, just this past weekend, actually celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary. And so we were up in Montreal in Quebec. And we're like, what are we going to do? And so I thought, well, there's this cathedral, and people say it's just really beautiful. And we should probably just go do something like that. Like just go be tourists and just go downtown. And We're like, yeah, we'll just kind of go see where life flows. And so we go to this cathedral, and it is breathtaking. So it's the Notre Cathedral in Montreal, for those, maybe some of you have even been in there. It is breathtaking. The level of craftsmanship and detail, it's unbelievable. It's just like one of those masterpieces. You walk in and you're like, wow. And we're walking through, and we're reading all the signs and looking at all the sculptures and the paintings and the stained glass, and just taking it all in, and looking at the altar and all the different images that they have up there, and the pulpit, and just all of it, right? Going up and down the pews and the aisles, and taking a moment to just be with it all. And we took a moment and we just sat down in one of the pews, and we're just looking up and looking all around. And my husband, Yeshua, turns to me and he goes, oh, I just feel like I just feel like a heavenly frequency here. And I just felt this pit in my stomach. And I was just like, that's really, really interesting, because I feel, and what I literally told him was, I feel death. And he kind of looked at me with this puzzled look on it. He's like, what do you mean? It's like, I don't know how to describe it. Something's off in the frequency, and I can just feel it. And then we just continue. We just kept taking pictures and looking around. And I get to this place in the middle of the cathedral, and it has like a spiral staircase, and you go up, and it's like where the preacher would preach on Sundays. And it was kind of halfway down the church so that everyone could hear. And he was up on the second story, and there's this spiral staircase going up to it. And we couldn't go up. There was a little rope there. So we were reading the little sign that they had describing this pulpit that the preacher would preach from. So I'm reading it. And it's like, yeah, the preacher would preach here every Sunday. He wouldn't need a microphone because of its placement and the way that the acoustics are in the church and all these things. And then it says, and the name of God is under his head. And I'm like, oh, really? Well, that's curious. So I go back around, because I had already taken pictures and looked at it. And I was like, oh, pretty. I go back and I'm looking up. And again, this is on the second floor. So I'm looking up, and I'm kind of having to like really squint and really take it in. I was like, what are they talking about? And I look, and there's this beautiful, it looks like sun rays coming off of the ceiling of the second floor. So he would be standing on the second floor in this little area on the spiral staircase. And then above his head, going up to where like a ceiling would be to the third story, but there's a roof sort of. And it's this sunbeam golden rays coming off. And then in the middle is this cloud. And then in the middle of that cloud is a triangle with these Hebrew letters on the inside. I was like, oh, they put the name up. They put the tetragrammaton in the inside of the triangle. Isn't that nice? And so I take a picture of it. And then I look at my picture, and I look at it, and my jaw drops to the ground. And I say, Yeshua, come here and look at this. And he says, what? And I said, look at this. The yod is missing. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, the tetragrammaton is the Hebrew name of God, that if you were to read a Bible, for example, in Hebrew, wherever you would see the word God would be these 4 Hebrew letters. And the first letter is yod. And it's this little, it literally looks almost like a little fish. It's like a dot in the air with a little tail. And then the next 3 letters are a hey, a vav, and then another hey. And so on this triangle, there were 3 letters, a hey, a vav, and a hey. And I thought to myself, wow, that seems like a pretty big oversight to leave out the yod on the name of God, where the preacher would stand and say give his blessings and give his message to the community. And I'm looking around at the level of intricate detail on every single carving, even this pulpit, the craftsmanship that went in, the detail of craftsmanship was unparalleled to really anything I had seen, maybe in my lifetime. It was exquisite. And the first thing that's coming in is like, this is not an oversight. There's no way this is an oversight. Everything in that place was so intentional. And it just, it was like that pit in my stomach that I was telling Yeshua about. It's like, what is this frequency of death that I'm feeling, or this off thing that's going on? And it stuck with me the rest of the day, even after we left that. And Yeshua and I were just having a really sweet moment to ourselves back at our place where we were staying, and just connecting, and just really found ourselves in this sweet place of connection. And just the peace was coming up around honor. And we were really just honoring each other, 10 years of being married. And what the words that were coming out for Yeshua, he said, I honor the divine feminine in you. I honor the divine masculine in you. And I honor the divine union in you. And I was saying the same words to him as I honor the divine masculine in you. I honor the divine feminine in you. And I honor the divine union within. And then we're being so overly sweet with each other. We just kept honoring each other and saying all of these things, all these ways that we honored his father, his mother, his all of these ways that we show up for each other and for our children and for our life, and just really being in the sweetest space. And one of the moments he looks at me and he goes, I honor you as life giver. I honor you as life giver. And it just hit me in the pit of my stomach. Everything was flooding back to that moment in that cathedral. I was like, oh my God, that's why the yod was missing. So now I'm going to tell you the backstory of the yod so you understand why I had such a profound moment in that moment. The yod, another piece that was coming through as I'm having this realization, is like, oh my gosh, the yod is actually the frequency of creation. It is the first something, and this is something that my teacher, Rabbi Gabriel Cousins, would say every time we came out of meditation. He would, instead of doing an om, how some people om to come out of meditation or after a yoga class, he would always yod. Like he would go yod. It would sound like an om, but it's like, what is he saying? It's not om, it's yod. And we would all like kind of be like, what's that about? And every once in a while he would say what it's about. He's like, oh, it's the first something out of the nothing. It's the first emanation of creation. I was like, oh, okay, cool. We'll say yod. And then I realized, if you think about water and how life would come onto this planet from water, right? It's like the first essence of life swimming, right? From bacteria. So the fish represent the yod, and the yod even looks like a fish. And so there's really something special about fish. We had this whole discussion around fish. But the point is that the yod frequency is the first something out of the nothing. It's the frequency of creation. And it's the frequency of life giver. The yod is the frequency of life giver. And that is why it was not there in that cathedral, because that is really what is happening. And part of the reason why there's probably a lot of churches burning right now. We can say there's all these reasons why, but this, to me, in an energetic level, is exactly why. Because the yod is the honor of the frequency of the 13. It's the frequency of life giver. It's the frequency of the feminine. As Shiloh was sharing, the frequency of the 13 on the Fibonacci scale takes you to 144. Do you know what 144 means? It means feminine. So there has been a deliberate and intentional, it's deliberate and intentional, stripping us from our original design of honoring creator. And so we've actually been cut off from creator, from our source. And that is really the frequency of the yod, and why it was missing on that name of God, which is not a name, it's not the name of God in the Hebrew letters. And it just freaking blew open everything and really brought into just all these realizations got just kind of flooded in. And Shiloh, when when I was telling you this, like, you just had all these pieces going ding, 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 ding. Maybe you want to share some of those parts that came through for you.
Yeah. I just want everyone to take a moment to really understand like what it is that we're sharing and talking about here, right? And how we even opened this, kind of open for you to dive into that was talking about how Magdalene was stripped as the 13 disciple. And the reason for that is because there's the powers that be, right, do not want you to believe that there was an honoring of the 13, an honoring of the feminine within the disciples, an honoring of life giver. And what that is representing, it's even beyond, right? When we talk about the rise of the divine feminine, it's like what this is all bringing us back to, because it's also honor of the divine masculine, right? It's
Right.
not, this isn't the in my personal opinion, right, kind of the darker gender of the feminist movement. This is about honoring all parts of self. It's about honoring the life giver, right? Which we also need, right? The male sperm to give life. And so men are a big part of this, but the honor has been disconnected. And so they actually took the feminine out of the disciples. So it's the 12, which is the 13 trying to fit into the system of the 12, which actually strips us from our cyclical nature. And what that is representing is actually the disconnection from what Ava just said, source, God, universe, right? It's our disconnection from our creator itself. And so what that is saying, right, is that it's giving our power away. And I'll just give an example, right? Because when we're tapping into a lot of this, right, how we even know that 144 is feminine, right? It's also light. If you look up gematria, right? And so another study of that, if you know anything about the work of Greg Braden, I mean, he actually discovered, and this was through, he started with the book Sefer Yetzirah, and he was looking into gematria, and he ended up taking a look at this really ancient alphabet, and he matched it to the periodic table within our DNA, right? And this, again, is coming back to the DNA. And what he had discovered, and it said that it took him like 20 years to crack the code on this. It wasn't like an overnight thing. He continued to find clues and dive deeper and deeper. And what he noticed is that the first sequence in every single strand of DNA, in everyone's DNA, is the same sequence. And then after that sequence, it's completely unique to us, like a fingerprint, right? And so he was so curious on what is the first sequence within the DNA? Why is it the same for all life? Like, what is this? And he ended up actually translating it through all of the ancient languages, right? It was Hebrew, Sanskrit, Arabic. I think maybe there was another one, but those were the main ones. He started with Hebrew. And when he decoded it, it literally said, God eternal within the body, in all three of these most ancient languages. And he said it just blew his mind because, of course, right, if you look at any sort of artist, right, and the way that he describes it is like you look at any sort of masterpiece, what does the artist always do? The creator of the painting, it signs its name, right? And so it was literally imprinted in our DNA that God is eternal within, right? God's self within. And yet, taking example, right, Magdalene out of the disciples, it's stripping from the frequency, right, of the 13. It's stripping from that direct connection to God being, and God's source, creator, whatever you believe in, right? To me, it's all the same. But it's that direct connection to source has been disconnected, which is why the 13 strands were disconnected down into two, right? And so what has been happening with that is it's actually us believing, because we've been told to believe, that we are in a system of 12, which has disconnected us from our truth, from our connection to source and creator, and from our power. And why is that important? Because when we feel powerless, we are easy to control and to manipulate. And so all of these structures of corruption and manipulation, right, as more light is coming into our planet, the deepest remembrance of this encoding is awakening within us, which is why Greg Braden was, studying that for 20 years, and he finally cracked the code because we're ready. There's enough light here to unearth the shadows. And, he's been very vocal about this on other podcasts, and he spoke about it when he made that public. There were some pretty big rabbis that actually reached out to him saying, who are you to tell the world this information? This is actually this was supposed to be kept secret. And his response was, why? Like, humanity needs to know this. We need to know that God is eternal within the body. And I'm using that specific word because that is that's the encoding of it. Right. And so whatever word you want to match there, that just is how it decoded specifically. And you can go and take a look into his work and see all of the details and the scientific study behind that as well. It's like, it's right there, right? This isn't like woo-woo or theory. It's actually what he has discovered. And so when we tune into that, it's like, wow, we've been stripped from our cyclical nature. And it's why we don't honor the planet as life giver. Right. And we're just so out of rhythm as a collective with our cyclical nature. And so the 13 is the remembrance of that coming back online. And we are starting to remember, right? Humanity is starting to awaken, which is why we're starting to tap into this information and connect the dots. And yeah, it's really powerful stuff. Really powerful.
Yeah, I'm full body chills over here. And we've got the Living Ma here as well. For those of you who are new to this podcast, I'm a trance channel that does channel a frequency of consciousness known as the Living Ma, and contains the frequencies of the Pleiadians. DiYeena is the name of the one that comes through the most often and is my gatekeeper. And there's other beings that come through as well, specifically Magdalene. And I can just feel their presence here right now as we're having this really important conversation. And so, Shiloh, I don't know if there's any other pieces that you feel is important for you and I to discuss here, but I'm feeling like it might be close to time to maybe bring in the Living Ma and see what they have to say on the Power of 13.
I would love to hear from the Living Ma. I say we bring them in.
Awesome. So for those of you who are new to trance channeling, it's simply where I just kind of take a back seat in my body and my consciousness and allow DiYeena to come forward and kind of have the center stage, and she's allowed to animate and move my body and speak through me. And it's just, for me, it's a really loving and gentle relationship that we've agreed on, and so I'm not channeling just anything or anyone. This is a really specific agreement to do this. And I'm also here specifically channeling only a particular frequency, which is of the highest frequency, not the highest, but it's a very high frequency of love and light. And so that was my first question when I started channeling, was how do I know, what's coming through is pure and good and of the light. And they were just really clear. They're like, you're the angelic realm, you're channeling of the angelic realm. And it's not possible for that frequency to channel anything other than love and light. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and go out, and we'll put you in touch with the Pleiadians. Here we go. Greetings. This is DiYeena of the Pleiadian family. You see, we are here, you see, like the Alpha body said, to bring the love, you see. And we have to be a little careful because we are holding a drink, a beverage, what you call the earth drink. You see, we're going to say thank you to Ava because this is her little gift from her to us. We're going to take a little sip and see where we are on your earth body today. Let's see. This is one of my favorites, you see, because we are clearly in Vermont. You see, this is the Vermont mushroom today, you see. So it is like very much, you see. Well, my dear Shiloh, how are we? We're having a very powerful conversation today.
Yes. Hello, DiYeena. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us today. This is a powerful one. And, Ava and I were, like she said, chatting for like an hour before this, and we were just lit up, and we could not wait to share this information and then also bring you in the Living Ma and just see, the higher perspective of it all as well.
we're just having a little, could have a little burp, you see, from the body here, just to get all the clearing it all out, you see. I'm sure your viewers will love that one, you see. Well, let's see, you see, you are wanting to know about the frequency 13. You see, the beauty of this conversation, you see, is that you two have really good listening ears on, you see. You've been really in the circuitry, you see, with the living mind. We've been really having to share a lot of information already, you see. So a lot has already come through, you see, around the importance of this particular frequency within the construct particular of what you call earth and human, you see, of the earth, you see. So you can say you have infinite capacity in multidimensionality and in the directionality as well, you see. So you can go infinite into the light, infinite into the 0 point, you see, both directions, you see. You have the movement into the infinite, you see. It does not stop ever, you see. So why the 13 then, you see? Because it is really appropriate in the context of the apparent reality that you live, you see. And so there is a blessing. There is a blessing of the human, you see, it has a completion of the blueprint, you see, at 13. You see that there is a little bit of a, like tied up with a bow, you see, sort of thing, you see, really in the fullness of the form, you see. And so you can always go more, you see. You can always say, well, there is a 14th dimension above that, you see, and there is a 14th dimension below that, you see, and we can always go more and more, you see. But there is a little bit of a, it's almost like if you have a piece of paper, you see, you make a beautiful picture, you see. And then you say, well, we could put another piece of paper underneath and keep drawing, make a bigger picture. You see, you can always do, you see. But the original was really just, it was really within the 13, you see. And this is really what you see in creation, you see. It's in the mathematical equation, you see. It's what you call the Fibonacci, which is the spiral, you see. So you have the codes of creation within, you see. And you can call it God. People are some people are very fancy with that word. Some people are very scared of that word. Some people very over that word, not really into it, you see, all these kind of things, you see. But it is not about the ways that word has been distorted in the consciousness, you see, but it is really about the frequency of it itself, you see, and the what it actually translates to within your form, you see. That is the important part, you see. This is what is important. Where do we want to go the conversation, my dear? Because we can go all over the place.
Well, I'm curious with, what we had, the way that we worded it was like cracking the code, I guess, of like why the 13th has been stripped from us. Are we quite accurate on that? Or is there anything that we're missing or anything that you want to share on that of us being in this system of 12 is actually here to suppress us or disconnect us from our power or the connection to life giver, to creator, to God, to source, however, and our viewers want to view that.
Yes, you see, we have a very little bit of a predicament, you see. Perhaps you can help us sort it out, you see, because we'd like to do what is best from your human perspective, you see. We have the information from the Magdalene that could come through, you see. We already know you're going to just jump at it, you see, be like, bring her, you see. But we really want to check in, you see, what is right for your show, so to speak, you see. If it is an appropriate place, you see, we'll let you decide, because you are the humans in the forms that have to deal with it, you see. We are just the ones coming through with the information, you see, but you are the ones that are going to have to read all the comments, you see. So you decide. Do you want her to come?
I'm here for it. If she's here, I welcome that. I honor that. I'm in just the deepest reverence and gratitude for that.
Yes, we believe that we can say as well, you see, Ava here pretty close, you see, also saying, giving the thumbs up, you see. So we just want to double check, you see, before we just assume, you see. So otherwise, what would not be very good gatekeeper otherwise, you see. So we'll have to do the double check, you see. Okay, so we do not know that we have ever done the Magdalene public, you see, like this. Usually small, intimate, you see, not on the cameras so much, you see. So this very perhaps first time. perhaps first time in a bigger setting like this, you see. So this very special moment, you see. So we're going to give little gratitude here for the frequency of the Magdalene, you see, coming to bring forth very important information straight from the source, you could say, you see, like that. That would be the way to look at it, you see, straight from the horse's mouth, you like to say, you see, like that. Very good. Okay, well, we just had to get a couple jokes in because, Magdalene, not much in the jokes around. You see, you have to get it out of me before we shift the gears here and bring in the more seriousness, you see, which was the Magdalene frequency. So, and love too, obviously love, you see, but it's not quite the same as a Pleiadian DiYeena here, a little bit, not so much the jab and the side, you see. So. Okay, DiYeena's had her fun. We'll bring in the Magdalene. We'll say blessings. You see, we'll come back and say a little bit at the end. Maybe we'll crack one more joke before we get to leave.
Beautiful. Thank you, DiYeena.
Yes, my dear. Here comes Magdalene for you. All very good. This is the one you know as the Magdalene. You are speaking on the frequency of the 13. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
You bring up the frequency of the Magdalene in the context of Jesus and the 12 men. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
As such, in the time when Jesus walked on the earth, when Magdalene walked on the earth, there were many more than what was described in the frequency of 12, and was deliberately capped, you could say, at 12 to reinforce the frequency of 12. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
Very good. So the role of Jesus, we will call, and Magdalene, we will call, in the appropriate realms of their teaching, they were teaching as divine union. Is it to the understanding?
Yes.
So each had their particular role of teaching Yeshua to the men, Magdalene to the women, and even the children. Is this to that understanding?
Yes.
So as such, there were different places from which these teachings would occur. Magdalene preferred the Sea of Galilee and would often go to work and master with the frequencies, particularly of all of the elements, but would work specifically with the frequency of water. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
So as such, as you are working within the frequency of water, you are inherently connected into what you are referring to as you speak of the 13 frequency, which is the essence of creation, which is the essence of the union of the masculine and the feminine. Is this the understanding?
Yes.
So the union of the masculine and feminine is the God code, so to speak. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
So when you come into union within the divine feminine within yourself and the divine masculine within yourself, it creates the frequency of 13 within the form. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
Very good. So this frequency of 13 is an activation and a portal to all of creation within the cosmos, of all that is, was, and ever will be. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
When you make love, what is happening on the pattern of creation is, well, let us back up one step here and first say that when you make a decision about your life, if you were to see it on the pattern of creation, what is happening is you are lighting up a part of the pattern of creation when you choose which way to go. It is like if you were to envision the pattern which you have spoken about in the past, perhaps even on this platform that you are communicating now. You see, we have the pattern lighting up the directionality that is chosen by the fractal. Is this the understanding?
Yes.
So as you light up with decision, with the ability to have free will in any direction, you are choosing to illuminate part of creation and a story within it. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
So within that story is a manifestation of what you would maybe call a timeline, what you would maybe call a story, what you could maybe call a past life or a future life. All of these things you are choosing to activate an experience within creation's tapestry. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
When you make love, what is happening in the moment of divine union, of the merging of the masculine with the feminine, is that the entirety of creation, all of the patterning of the entirety of the cosmos is lit up in that moment. Is this to my understanding?
Yes.
So within that, all is possible. Is this to my understanding?
Yes.
So in that, when you have the frequency of the 13 activated within your form, all is possible at any moment because you are in the frequency of having the entirety of creation at your fingertips lit up as creator creating. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
So this was not necessarily aligned with certain humans' agendas. Is this to thy understanding?
Yes.
So it is very easy to take the 13 and put it in a box of 12 that would remove that frequency to be able to be a master of your own reality. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
So in order to come back into the frequency of 13 within the form, one must come into right relationship with the divine feminine within themselves and the divine masculine within themselves. And once those two are in complete balance, we are very careful here with our wording. When they are in complete balance, it is important for those two frequencies then to come into union. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
When you are in union with yourself, you are automatically in union with all of creation. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
So this is the right relationship to be in with our fellow humans, you see. And you are able to be in right relationship and in divine union with humans in this particular frequency when you are in your fullness of the created that you are. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
Is this making sense to you?
It is, yes. So when we are coming into right relationship with self, in balance, coming into wholeness with our divine masculine and divine feminine counterparts, and there's a union that takes place that allows for us to tap into basically the web of all creation. So it's tapping us into our power of how we can be in co-creation with creation itself.
Precisely. And you can see it as co-creation. You can see it as simply creation because you are in that frequency of union. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
So when you are in the frequency of co-creation, it is a frequency of duality. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
This is not the frequency of divine union. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
So there is two, the divine masculine and the divine feminine are the frequencies of the duality, the parallel realities that get to play together to merge into divine union. And in the frequency of divine union is the frequency from which all is created. Is this to the understanding?
Yes.
When you are in the separation, you have the ability to be in awe of the divine orchestration of creation, and that is the purpose of the separation, of the splitting, and having the counterparts is to be able to observe the beauty and to witness and be in awe of that which is created. Is this to the understanding?
Yes, it is.
Very good.
Thank you so much. That is very, very powerful. I don't think I have any more questions. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to share while you're here. We're just so grateful to have your presence here in the space.
We believe this is a good chunk for people, you see, because this is a little bit more of what you would say a public platform, you see. And so this is perhaps a good introduction to the frequency of Magdalene, you see, and the frequencies of the energetics of what were truly taught by Yeshua and Magdalene, and the frequencies that were held by each of the counterpoints. And the what they taught, you see, was divine union within, you see. And these were the words that were original, you see. If you go back and you are able to find the original words, you see, you will see more and more divine union within, you see. God within, you see. You see, the divine feminine and masculine within, you see. Merging, you see. And it is all an internal journey, you see. It is all necessary for one to come into right relationship with themselves, you see. When you are in the right relationship with yourself, that is a direct hologram then of your relationship with creation. But it all starts from within. We are blessing all of you for the remembrance of the divine union within yourself, and that you come into complete wholeness as the creators that you are, and that you choose to create love in your life. Blessings from the Magdalene blessings. Okay, this is DiYeena. You see, back to the Pleiadian family, you see, we love when the Magdalene comes in, but a little bit of a bumpy ride. You see, we are having to say, okay, you go over there a little bit, I go over here a little bit. We'll just swap the places a little bit, like you are driving on a freeway, you see. Just getting all the cars in the right spot, you see, having the parking lot not too full, you see. This is very good, you see. Wasn't that fascinating?
It's so fascinating, and really, I think just solidified so much of what Ava and I were speaking in, and the understanding of how we're being called into the frequency of 13 to come back in a right relationship with self, and to really understand how to bring in this divine union, the honoring of our own masculine and feminine counterparts, and really allowing that to come into a place of wholeness, so that we can be in divine union with self. And that allows us to then be in a place of creation, where we can actually not so much be taking kind of the backseat, but actually be in our creative power that we came here to truly explore, and be the creator beings that we came here to be.
Precisely. What Magdalene made a very good, important, little subtle point, you see, which is that the most powerful moments in creation are when we are in the union, you see, when we are coming from wholeness, you see, when we are really tapped into the frequency of wholeness, you see. And so what is beautiful about that, you see, is that the egoic places of creator, you see, that are not quite worked out in the balance, you see, then can only have so much power, we will say it like that, you see, because it is only given so much of a line, you see, because there's not the full expression, you see, there's not the full design, you see. But to be in the right relationship with the fullness of your expression is to be in the union frequency, you see. So when you are in the frequency of wholeness, you see, the completion of wholeness, and you are experiencing that within yourself, you see, it is not a separate feeling. It is not a separate experience where there is a you that is going to create whatever the heck you want to create in your life, you see. It is a little bit more connected than that, you see. So we were just bringing up that subtlety because it's important, you see. And then it begins to be that now we have fractals of consciousness that are connected consciously to the whole, you see, that are consciously choosing to move and play in right relation to the whole, you see. Not trying to go over and storm your own path over here simply because you can, you see. Is this making sense to you?
Yes, and it makes perfect sense. And, I'm even coming back into what we were sharing about the, in the Bible, the disciples only being men, and God being looked at as a man outside of self, right? The big guy in the sky kind of thing. It's all directed into the masculine, which is leaving out the feminine counterpart, which within us, we all have feminine and masculine counterparts. And so by leaving that part out, it stripped us from half of the union, and that allowed us to only see part of the picture. And so we're being called to activate that divine feminine within, because and we're seeing that as the rise of the divine feminine that's happening because women have been suppressed. And so it's not so much about, what I'm hearing is, it's not like feminine or rising and leaving men behind. That actually just brings us out of balance again in the opposite direction. It's about women rising, the feminine within everyone, within women and men, rising and coming into balance, coming into wholeness, coming into divine union with self. And that is when we tap into our innate power of creation.
You could say like that, you see, but we'll really say in another way as well, you see, which is that it is really the internal journey, you see, because when you get that part right, everything in the hologram reflects it, you see. So you could say that you are very right, very accurate, you see, that that is not the accurate solution to then have the wounded feminine all pissed off at all the men, you see. This does not bring it into the balance, you see. So what it does is having the men and the women going on their internal journeys, each of them, you see. So the men's are going in and they're working out their own feminine, you see. The women's are going in and working out their own feminine inside themselves, you see. Then they're also going in, working out their own masculine, you see, the places that are overpowering. The women going in, working out those places of the masculine, you see. And doing it in a way where we're not doing it out of anger about what has happened, you see. But we're really doing it in a way of really forgiving, first and foremost. You see, we've got to start at the forgiveness frequency. It is a dualistic frequency, but if we cannot even be in the duality of forgiveness, you see, well, then we're not going to have very much luck getting into the union, you see. So we've got to at least start with the frequency of forgiveness, even though it is only one part of the story, you see. Then there's a whole other load of stuff up there about oneness, you see. But you have to start at the apparent non-oneness, you see, and forgive those frequencies within yourself, you see. You can do outside if that makes you feel better, but it is really an internal process, you see. Coming into the balance, forgiving the masculine within yourself, forgiving the feminine within yourself. Forgiving the ways that we come into unhealthy union or attempt at union within the self, you see. And really working out these parts within ourselves, you see. Healing that within, you see. Because you are your own healer, you see. And you are that powerful creator. And that is when you come into the union and the balance, and there is honor for both of these frequencies in the right way, you see, then we can honor the divine union within. This is really where the Yeshua and the Ava really had the sweetness right, you see, on their anniversary trip, you see, honoring the feminine within, honoring the masculine within, honoring the union within, you see. This was the work of the Yeshua and the Magdalene, you see. So they were very tapped in, attuned to that particular dynamic, you see. It was all the internal work. So this is really what is being asked, you see, and what is the implications here? Why is this conversation important, you see? Then we have to really come back, it's a full circle here to every single listening ear on this listening in right now, you see. Coming in and doing that process within yourself, you see. Looking at your life, seeing where is it not in the balance, you see, because those are the reflections, those are the feedback loops where we are not in the resonance within our own form, you see. The places where we have a little cringe, you see, around a person, where we have a little bit of a story, or where we get a little upset, you see. All of these things, you see, the places where we are not fully in the right relationship of power of the masculine and feminine within, you see, because when we work those parts out, that is only when we can really truly create, you see. Only truly do we create in balance, you see, when we are in those frequencies of honor within, you see. So coming into the importance of honor, you see, coming into the importance of honor within yourself, you see. And then that naturally gets to reflect within all of your relationships as well. Isn't that fascinating?
It's so fascinating. And I just feel like this is such an important topic for just for the collective to hear at this time of really understanding, okay, well, what is really the next step in this evolution that we're moving through? And that, what I'm really hearing for all of our viewers, right, is kind of like their soul play kind of thing. We don't want to say soul work, because we know that DiYeena is like, it's what's work about it, right? It's we really get to play in consciousness here. It's self-discovery of just what you're speaking into, right? Where are all the places that we're out of right relationship with self internally, and where is that balance looking to be to come online, that sense of wholeness. And I just think that we're all on a really beautiful journey right now of self-discovery, of really coming into divine union within. And I think that's such an important piece to just everything that we've been speaking on.
Yes, precisely, my dear. What I will also say here is just to reiterate, because it's been said in a lot of different ways subtly, you see, but to say it more directly, you see, is that the frequency 12 is really connected directly into the frequency of dishonor, you see. So it's the frequency of dishonoring what you would consider God, source, universe, creator, creation, you see, because it's dishonoring the source of creation, you see. So it is dishonoring the source of creation within yourself. So the frequencies of 12 all around you, you see, not honoring that 13th, that spark of creator within, you see. That's the God code within, you see. It is the God code within, you see. We'll say it like that just because of the simplicity of it, you see. But it is like that, you see, where it is the frequency of the creator, life giver, the energy of life giver, you see. So you're bringing back into balance and right relationship the energetics that are required to bring forth life, to create. That is the nature of the human, is a creator. You create. We are creative beings, you see. And that is the frequency of 13, you see. So even the frequency of 12, you see, is boxed off the creative force of the humanity, you see. So when we come into the right relationship with our own 13 within, you see, come into honoring the essence of creation within yourself, you see, and honoring the connection of the God source, the source of the form of the universe, you see, within your own form, you see. That is really when we get to that activated of that 13, you see, that little fish yod, you see, as Abba was describing, you see. That is the frequency that illuminates all possibility. That is a frequency that illuminates all of life itself, you see, and that illuminates your capacity then to choose what to bring awareness to, what to illuminate, what to light up in consciousness, you see, because all possibility exists, you see, from that place. So it is a really powerful, when you really get the depth of this conversation, you see, you really have unlocked the power of the human. It's a really powerful conversation here. You see, we hope that we are not getting what you call it, blocked by all the powers, you see, that apparently be, you see, but maybe they've had their day in the sun, and we really just need to get the information out to the people. You see, very important to get the information to the humans, you see, so that they can really be empowered again to remember their own frequency of 13, and that what it really creates, you see, because it really creates whatever the heck you want to create, you see. And there are forces that know this, you see. That's why you have the sex magic, you see. They know how to play around in consciousness, you see, in that way. That are doing it, you see, in not so pretty ways, not so kind ways, you see. They're creating other things, you see, in the frequency, you see, because they understand the energetics. They understand the power of the 13. They know how to work with it, you see. So let's at least get on an even playing field with everyone here. Know your own power, you see. That's a good start. Would you not say?
Yes, absolutely. And, I just think that this is a really empowering conversation, and it's such a vital piece, because what I even just heard you say, right, it is the cracking of the code of the power of the human in the truest form. And, ancient teachings were really, guiding us into that. And I just feel like a lot of that was lost, or maybe covered up, and we're coming back into the remembrance of that. And so thank you, DiYeena, for being here in this conversation with us today. I don't know if there's anything else you want to share with us before we wrap up today.
Well, it's such an honor. You see, we'll say we honor you, my dear Shiloh, and we honor you, dear Ava, dear Magdalene, for the information that you are bringing forth to the world. You see, not the easiest job, you see. DiYeena has an easier job, you see, because I can just go bye, and let Ava deal with all the things, you see, and the Shiloh, you see. So we have the easier job, you see. So we honor you for the roles that you play here in the human forms, you see. And we bless all the human forms that you are able to co-create together in the frequency of love, you see, and that you are able to come into divine union within yourself to be the master co-creators that you are and the creator that you are, you see. And we honor all of you, all of creation in that way. Blessings from the Pleiadians. We love you all so very dearly. We'll be again together very soon. Blessings.
Beautiful. That was such a powerful conversation. Thank you so much, Ava, for being such a powerful channel. Is there anything else that you want to share before we go ahead and close out today?
Oh, this was perfect. And I just trust that this message was exactly what you needed to hear today. And just thank you for being here. I can feel, I'm guessing Magdalene came in. It feels very different than DiYeena. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So I bless all of you that the information that was received here today is really exactly what you need to move forward in your life.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And so if this resonates with you, please like this video and subscribe so that we can continue to rise together in this ascension journey.
And we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye, everyone.